Alright, we have Scram 2, the 1939 15.5-foot Chris Craft, laid over on its back. We're in the process in this clip of removing the bottom paint and that gold colored paint you can see there, and a darker brown primer underneath. Working our way through there with orbital sanders hooked up to shop vacs. It was a fairly dust-free environment in the barn. Wasn't an awful job. Looking back through, seeing it, getting the process of just kind of working our way through it. Here it is, fairly cleaned up in this shot. Looking back, we had one spot of rot that was in a plank that had a split in it, and apparently in the split in the plank there had some rot had formed, so we ended up cutting a graving piece and right here and just epoxying that into the spot where the rot was, and that was the only bad spot in the plank. You can see the oil soaked through the planks there where the engine sat. My dad just cleaning out the seams, making sure they're free of any debris. We're mixing up some CPES, clear penetrating epoxy sealer, which has the consistency of, I'd say, fuel oil. It's like painting fuel oil on there. About that viscosity. You can see it goes on pretty wet here. The idea is to preserve the planking after we got down through the paint. The planks look so nice that we thought we could just preserve them with the penetrating epoxy, stabilize them, and enjoy using the boat with its original bottom. We did have some plans to perhaps tear the bottom off and replace the inner planking with plywood and put a new bottom on, but after we got into it and looked at it, it was in such nice shape that we thought we could enjoy it for probably quite a few years with the original bottom. And looking back, you can see the penetrating epoxy soaking into the planking there. Soaks in fairly quickly, looks fairly dull after you put it on, so we were able to put a few more coats of that in there. A little bad spot in the corner with a little bit of rot that we had to put in. Here's a picture of what it looks like after we filled the seams with 5200. Dad went through and laid the 5200 deep in the seam so it was down inside the seam, so there was room for expansion. We just wanted to seal the seam at the bottom just so that we didn't have water coming up through immediately. And then a coat of oil red. We've always done bottom paint with anti-fouling, but we figured with the way we were going to use it, we would keep it clean and wipe down so that really wouldn't be a need for anti-fouling paint during the summer. We were able to sand down the sides with it upside down like that and put a few coats of varnish back on the hull sides. It's kind of nice. You can kneel down with it upside down and get a good look and see how the gloss is going on. Taped off the water line, which is silver traditionally for 1939, so it's a silver water line, and putting some wax paper on the bottom just to make sure the straps that go back on aren't going to leave impressions in the paint. And here we are grabbing the trailer back out of the snow with the same crew that we flipped it over with originally. Came back and put the trailer in a location where when we flip it over we can put it right back on the trailer and back it right back into the barn. So once we have the trailer in place and the crew's ready to flip the boat back over, in this shot here we got everybody gathered around, my father giving some last minute instructions on how we're going to lift the boat and put it back on the trailer after we get it on its bottom. It went without any difficulties. It's fairly easy. Flip it back over, and then here it is back on its sitting back on the hull on top of the trailer. And now we're ready to clean up the inside, varnish the decks, clean out the seams, and in the next video we'll show that interior painted back, the actual village painted back orange. It was gray right now. It'll be orange in the next video.